Good afternoon and welcome everyone to our February 8th, 2016 City of New Ulm Park and Rec Commission meeting. Welcome back to the commissioners and our guests that are attending as well. First item of business will be welcome and introductions, and I think everyone has been here for either multiple meetings or your second meeting. Welcome back, Leroy. It's great to have you on the commission. Second item of business is to amend or approve the February 8th, 2016 agenda as it was sent out. And there was a second email with another item that was routed, so I think that's...
I would move to approve the agenda with the addendum.
With the addendum, okay.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the agenda. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Just making sure here, Director Schmitz, is the addendum on our computer? Is that loaded?
Yes, it is. On a tab, upper left.
Got it. I see it. Thank you.
Two PDF tabs.
Thank you.
You
So if
betcha.
anyone else is looking for the addendum, maybe you've already found it. Took me a while. Okay, thank you. On to item number 3, and this was for approval of our January 11th meeting minutes. It was sent. The minutes were sent out in our packet. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review. Any comments or recommended changes to the minutes from our January 11th meeting?
I move adoption.
We have a motion,
I'll second.
and we have a second to adopt the minutes from the January 11th meeting. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 was our January activity report, department activity report, also included in the packet, outlining activities across programming, parks, rec center, civic center, and administration. Again, hoping everyone had a chance to review that. Any comments or questions on the January activity report? I'll have one, and this is for Director Schmitz and Assistant Director Corman. Question if we could follow up for maybe future months. This narrative is always helpful for me. I'm wondering, is there any ability to have a couple graphs and I'll kind of just share the reasoning behind it. Sometimes when I'm reading all of the numbers, they always sound good, but I don't know how to compare them to anything. You know, it is, so for $44,000 in memberships or 11,000 check-ins. I don't know if it was 12. We had 12,000 last year in January, or 10,000, or if there's any kind of way to use metrics to help guide us in where we're seeing growth, or maybe where we'd be seeing decline in utilization of the park and rec system. Not looking for 67 measures, but if you said there's 5 that you think are really important, whether it's revenue coming in for the rec center, civic center, activity level, something where we could see a bar here or there, I'd appreciate that at least in kind of interpreting activity.
Certainly.
And sometimes I report different numbers, just, because we're not reporting the same information each month. So whatever numbers I'm reporting on, I can certainly include some sort of a graphical representation of whatever it is that I'm reporting on.
Okay.
So that you
So
can...
it's some comparison to a previous period of
Sure.
time, or...
Yep.
Yeah.
Look to the rest of the commissioners.
Yep.
Would that be helpful, or you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a question about the senior citizen insurance. What are they getting something, is Medicare doing something different for them?
Yes, the supplement, there's a big change in the Blue Cross Blue Shield supplement for starting in 2016, and that supplement now changes the way that they are, changes a benefit in their insurance. So the big one is Blue Cross Blue Shield Gold, which used to be where you buy your membership and then you work out X amount of times and you get reimbursed.
Yeah.
Well, they went to the same system as their Blueprint for Health system, which is basically they're coming, they can check in as many times as they want a month, and we get paid per visit. So those visits now are recorded as admissions, not as memberships. So you're going to probably see in a decline in memberships, but you'll probably see an increase in admissions.
Oh.
It's just the way that the revenue is recorded.
Okay.
Do they pay that directly to you then? The insurance companies?
There's a third party that does that for the insurance.
Oh,
But
but
yes, they pay directly. We submit the file,
Oh.
we submit the information to them, they turn around and pay the city.
Oh, interesting. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments on the activity report? Thank you. That will be filed with our meeting minutes. Item number 5 on the agenda, City Council meeting recap. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Freier and Commissioners. 2 City Council meetings since our past Commission meeting, as usual. The first one, January 19th, saw the City Council ordering snow removal on the recreational trail from 20th South to 23rd North. And the Park and Recreation Department has been conducting that service since then. February 2nd City Council meeting saw them receive and order filed the 2015 Deer Hunt Control Program report, and then they also authorized the Deer Hunt Control Program for 2016. That's not a park and recreation function, but I thought somewhat natural resource involved, so I'd mention it to the Commission. That's it for City Council action over the past month related to Park and Rec.
Okay, any questions for Director Schmitz on City Council activity?
Is it true that you have to, I think I maybe read it in the paper, you have to monitor the number of people that are using the trail, or was there something, were they somehow going to determine if that was a benefit that the trail is clean? How were
Well,
they doing that again? I forgot.
One of the things they asked us to do is to try our best to keep track of costs.
Oh, cost.
So we're tallying up the labor hours involved, and then we'll be able to figure out fleet expenses also. The usage is going to be anecdotal. We haven't created a traffic counting system on the trail yet. There are systems available, and we may purchase something like that down the road. But presently, we have no system available or in place to count usage, quantify usage on the trail.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. If no other questions on the City Council, we'll move on to old business. Item number 6 under old business, the Reinvest New Ulm Local Option Sales Tax Committee. I can give a brief update, take questions, we can have more discussion. This actually was a topic of our work session as well earlier this week. But updates from the committee, actually our last committee meeting was canceled due to the last blizzard or snowstorm we had in the community. So we canceled our last meeting, but in case people haven't heard, our first deadline for the letter of intent or short form proposals was due at the end of January, and we had 14 submissions or proposals for our RENU funding requests. 6 of the 14 were from the Park and Rec Commission. So we had 6 out of the 14. Most of the other proposals actually were from other city operations or departments. There were a couple from in the community as well. The next deadline for the RENU committee is actually at the end of March. The last week of March for the full proposals that would be due to the RENU committee for their review and evaluation, and then that activity would move to the City Council sometime this summer. Main activity of the RENU committee actually for the next month would be around prioritization criteria or ranking criteria. So now that we have at least the short form proposals coming in, but really preparing for the full proposals coming in, trying to work through what type of process we'll utilize to take these 14 proposals and figure out how do we prioritize which ones we think are most important, most valuable for the future of this community and this region. We're interested in doing that in as much of an objective manner as possible, knowing that we all have represented interests around the table, but there's some objective way to do that. So our committee has started that work. I would tell you probably just from conversation so far, a higher priority, this isn't through any formal ranking yet, but higher priority on themes like economic development, local benefit, regional benefit, kind of at least our first discussion were areas that the committee thought would be of great importance. So I'll kind of pause there and look to either Director Schmitz for any more commentary on the RENU committee activity to date. He's been attending, I think, all of our meetings so far.
Yes, I think the RENU committee will have a difficult, bunch of decisions to make. There's probably more than twice as many dollars requested in these proposals than it may be available with the sales tax. So, in my glance at all 14 of them, they all seemed worthy and good ideas and projects, some recreational, some infrastructure, and some economic development. So I think the RENU committee's going to have their hands full, and I think looking at their matrix and their ranking chart, it's going to be very helpful for them to work through that by trying to prioritize the community needs.
At our work session, thank you for those that were able to attend. For those that were not able to attend, we just took some time to review the other, well, kind of scan the list of 14 submissions to the RENU committee, and then kind of circle back to our 6 proposals and just discussed what we thought would be kind of key benefits at a higher level of each of the projects, and trying to assess would there be other key partners across our community that we think it would be helpful to reach out and seek some level of support with our submission. So if there would be a different organization, people group, et cetera, association that we thought would be a good fit for our aquatic and water park proposal, who might they be, and could we reach out to them and have them better understand the proposal and see if they wouldn't be interested in offering some sort of letter of support or other way of reaching out to the RENU committee.
Is there going to be an initial, let's say, cut? You know, you've got 14 proposals. Are all 14 expected to do the full proposal?
We're assuming that at this time.
You are.
And we haven't met formally to discuss the 14 short form proposals, but I think that there is interest in seeing full, because in the short form proposal or letter of intent, we didn't even get specific cost information yet or other kind of key facts and figures with the proposals. And the other note is we don't know this to be the case, but we're open to, if someone didn't meet the first deadline but is still working on a full proposal, that those submissions could come in yet as well. So maybe
it could be
maybe
more
there
than
could be
14.
more than 14.
I see.
We would want to be as inclusive as possible to kind of understand what are all of the good ideas for the future of New Ulm and the region, and consider those. So we're, let's see here, 6 to 7 weeks away from that deadline. Any other questions or discussion, feedback for me or input for me to take back to the RENU committee? Okay, you know where to find me.
Mm-hmm.
On to new business, item number 7, high school sophomore career fair civic center fee. Director Schmitz, there was an action sheet included, and I know we have a guest that is available for providing an update as well. Director Schmitz, you want to frame this up a little bit more?
Certainly. Thank you, Chair Freier and Commissioners. I'm going to highlight some of the items in the overview first of all, and that's that the Chamber of Commerce, through its Career Expo Committee, produces the annual career fair for all 10th grade students in New Ulm, and in some years including surrounding communities. The event's been taking place in the Civic Center since 2008. In the spring, normally in the South Arena, that doesn't have ice at that time of year. The date for this year is April 6th. The organization is requesting that the fee for use of the Civic Center be waived or reduced. And some of the reasons they have requested this consideration is that it's solely to educate all 10th grade students in all the schools of New Ulm about job and career possibilities in the New Ulm area. The goal is to help inform and educate these students and hopefully entice them to stay in the area or come back to the area to pursue careers here. It's a nonprofit event, and it's solely an educational purpose involved. Typically they have 325 to 350 students attend, a wide variety of businesses portraying their industries and themselves, including 50 businesses participating last year. So you can see down in the budgetary section of the action form kind of some of the history. 2008 was their very first year, and the fee was waived entirely with an agreement that the city would be named as a co-sponsor, and that after the event established itself, they would begin to pay the normal fee schedule. Again, in 2009, the fee was waived. In 2010, they paid the regular fee but didn't have to pay for tables and chairs. And then beginning in 2011, they were paying the full regular published fee schedule for the Civic Center. So your options today are to recommend continuing with the regular fee schedule and cost for this event, or to offer a discounted rate to the organization, or to waive the fee entirely. So that's a little bit of the overview, and you have in the packet also a letter from the committee, and Bill Aufderheide, who's here and able to address the commission if you'd like him to speak up at the podium. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. Bill, would you be interested in sharing anything more than what was outlined by Director Schmitz?
I don't know what more I can share. That's the basics for what the organization does and what our purpose is. If you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer whatever I might be able to.
I would ask a question. What is the length of this event? I mean, it's one day. I realize that. Is it so many hours, or are businesses committed?
It's a one-day event. The students start coming in around lunchtime and goes throughout the afternoon, and they all head back about 2:30. So that's about 3 hours, I guess.
3 hours?
Yep.
So pretty minimal.
Yep. And there's quite a group of students that come in. The buses come in the morning. The students have a chance to go to all the different booths, all the businesses, and there are some schools that come that are related to our businesses. For example, not myself, but MR Paving and Mathewitz Construction, we bring down Central Lakes College, and they bring their simulator, so students can kind of see what running controls of heavy equipment is. There's some other businesses that bring in simulators or demonstrations. It's quite a nice event, and the students are able to walk around, ask questions, put their hands on some things, and be involved.
They set up the day before.
Oh, so it's
Yeah,
commitment that way?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's more than 3 hours. The 3 hours is the student portion of it, but
Okay.
the group spends a lot of time organizing and making sure everything is set up in a good, manageable way for the students, a good flow.
That's a good point. Thank you. Yep.
So it mentions you have to fundraise in order to hold this event. Is that through the chamber?
That's through
and
the chamber. We
the
go out
business?
to various businesses and ask for donations for the event.
Okay, and those are probably businesses that are participants in the event? Is that
Mostly, yes.
fair assessment? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions for Bill?
Well, Mr. Chairman, after learning about this event and what it does and what it entails, and reading the letter that Mr. Aufderheide presented, certainly this event appears to be, well, not only appears to be, but is an event that benefits the whole community. And I think it's appropriate that the Park and Rec Commission participate as a partner in this event, and that the fees would be waived. So, and I would so move.
Okay, so we have a motion, and this was listed as an option here under the job action sheet. I guess there's a motion made to waive the entire fee for the annual event. Correct, Commissioner Sledderdahl? Is that
Yes,
your motion?
that is my motion.
Okay.
I will second it so we can have discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to waive the entire fee for the annual career fair. Any more discussion?
I'd like to ask why, I mean, at first the fee was waived for 2 years to let people get the process happen and become familiar with the students and stuff. Then the fees was based just on our normal fee schedule. There was nothing.
They fluctuate because it depends on the amount of tables and chairs that they use. That's why the base rate, they paid the regular rate, but then, depending on what additional equipment they needed from us, mostly tables and chairs.
And maybe the group would be interested in, doing a donation back, if there was some money. But I think it's a benefit to the community.
Other questions or comments? for discussion? I guess I agree with the benefit of the community. And I look at, I guess the opportunity is the in-kind contribution by the city of New Ulm for the benefit of this event. Could be providing the space, much like we probably do for other city functions, that we maybe don't bill ourselves, or I don't know how that exactly works for city functions. I think the challenge always for me is kind of the slippery slope of which events do you get to include kind of in this sort of framework of in-kind support of waiving a fee, and which ones don't fit, because I could probably sit here and think of dozens of events that probably take place in our community that we'd have to sit around the table and say, oh, that definitely benefits the city in some way. It's just how do you sort through kind of the provision of facilities for the benefit of the community at no fee. I'm not bringing that up because I have a plan or a recommendation. I could just see how the commission and the city could be at least faced with other entities and other groups saying, well, boy, we provide a value-added service to the community as well, so why are we having to pay for an event? I guess those are comments I would add. Again, not with a solution or recommendation, just an acknowledgement of issue. Anything else from Director Schmitz, Assistant Director Corman on the proposed action?
No, I think you have before you the, financial ramifications.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, we do have a motion and a second to waive the entire fee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One, I think I heard. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
If I could just say, the Park and Rec Department's been terrific to work with on this event, and we appreciate all they've done for us in the past and how great they are to work with. It's a great facility, and thank you.
Thank you,
betcha.
Bill, for
Thank you,
being here.
Commissioner.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see here. On to item number 8 under new business, Bike Across Minnesota Camping, Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Freier and Commissioners. This action, proposed action, is the potential recommendation to the City Council to authorize overnight temporary camping in Harmon Park for Bike Across Minnesota on the night of August 18th into the morning of August 19th of this year, 2016. I think we all realize that overnight use in municipal parks here in New Ulm is against ordinance, so they would need to come through city administration and city council and the commission to get authorization to do this. BAM, Bike Across Minnesota, is a nonprofit organization with a focus on highlighting Minnesota communities to an ever-growing bicycling audience. They annually host a 4-day ride covering 60 to 80 miles a day through a variety of host cities, 4 per year. Let's see here, I won't read verbatim all of the information in the action form here, but the event has been taking place since 2006. They came through New Ulm a few years back and actually spent overnight at District 88 property at Jefferson School. This year they've asked to stay in a city park, and their first thought was Riverside Park, but when they realized that there are very limited services down there with utilities and so on, restrooms, it was my recommendation that they consider Harmon Park because of the renovated shelter building and the fact that there are utilities there. And so we'd have to work out a fee for them. They're anticipating maybe 300 cyclists, a couple hundred tents. Some of the participants stay in local lodging establishments. They'll be required to obtain a temporary county camping permit. Now they bring a portable shower truck with them, whereas in previous years they used school or city shower facilities. They come in mid-afternoon, some early afternoon, and then spend the afternoon and evening in the community and are usually up and gone quite early in the morning. I do not see any concerns about this activity with our department and our system. There will be, a modest amount of revenue coming in for park use and shelter rental. And then, of course, we'll have an outlay of some utilities and so on. But no great burden on our department. And I think it's a great opportunity to showcase the community to traveling tourists.
Okay, any questions for Director Schmitz or discussion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, just some observations and comments. I've never participated in the BAM event, but several years ago I happened to be on the same trail where they were riding along, and so I got to ride with some of the people and see how they operate, and it's an extremely well-organized event. I was most impressed just about how they carry out the whole process, and you've got a group of people here that if they're biking like this, you know that they're people who care about the communities that they go through, and I think it's a privilege to be able to have them coming through our community, like Director Schmitz had mentioned. So I just want to say for now that I certainly support this event, and I guess I'll go ahead and I'll make that as a motion.
Do we have a motion to recommend authorization for August 18th and 19th of temporary camping?
Second.
And we have a second. Any more discussion?
Excuse me, Chair Freier and
Yes.
Commissioners, I'll just add into the record a little bit about their trip. That begins in Waseca, and then they head westbound with their first night stay in New Ulm, and then continue west the next day with an overnight at Springfield, I presume in Riverside Park, the city park in Springfield. And then the next morning they turn around and head back eastbound with their final night stay in Madelia, and then end up back where they began in Waseca. So that's kind of the oval loop that circle loop they're doing.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to item 9, Greater Minnesota Bonding Resolution. Another handout included in the packet. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Freier and Commissioners. And this action won't cost us a penny, and hopefully may bring some money to New Ulm over the upcoming years. But this is the context in that Greater Minnesota encompasses all the cities in the 80 counties outside of the metropolitan area, the 7-county metropolitan area known as the Met Council. And there's a state statute with a program to assist funding with local parks and trails in Greater Minnesota, Statute 85.019. Many important park and trail projects in Greater Minnesota do not qualify for legacy funding. Legacy amendment funding only goes towards regionally significant or statewide significant parks and trails. In many years, this Greater Minnesota local park granting program isn't very well funded by the feds or the state. And so the organization of the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails is recommending that the municipalities and the counties in Greater Minnesota simply pass a resolution through their park boards, park commissions, and city councils to recommend to the legislature, both the House, Senate, and the governor, to please fund this grant program. And this is a bonding year, and the request is only $5 million to be put into this bonding program this bonding year. The Metropolitan Parks and Trails received almost a quarter of the lottery and lieu funds, and have a number of other funding sources that are not available to the Greater Minnesota cities and counties. So we have the draft resolution with you. You can see in the packet. It's just simply recommending that the state legislature and governor add a small amount of money in the bonding package to assist in funding this worthy grant program for Greater Minnesota cities and counties in their local park and trail projects and needs.
Okay, look to the commission for questions for Director Schmitz or comments, discussion.
Make a motion to support the resolution.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend the city council authorize a resolution of support for bonding funding for local parks and trails in greater Minnesota. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to, do you want to, are we going to, I'm sorry, I forgot already.
would
Through
go-
reports, or do we want to suspend the rules?
Let's suspend the rules and jump into the
Do you
final
wanna-
action.
Do you want to kind of frame that up for us from a process standpoint so everybody understands what
Yes.
we're doing here?
Yes, you
Thank you.
betcha. Commissioners, we had a proposed action come in after we sent out the packet this past week. And so we need to suspend the rules with a motion and a second and a vote so that we can take action on the addendum. This is happens when proposed action comes in prior to the initial packet going out to the public.
Or after the initial packet goes out to the public?
Yeah,
right?
after. Did I say before?
That's fine.
Sorry.
Kind of knew what you meant, though.
After.
So is the commission willing to take up that recommendation to pursue action on the addendum that was sent out electronically? And if so, then we'd have to have, if you see on the cover sheet here, a motion and second and majority vote to suspend the rules.
So move.
Second. We have a motion and second to suspend the rules for action on the addendum. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll take up the lease agreement with the junior hockey team franchise. For most of us, this has kind of come through the commission on a number of occasions, going back maybe, I don't know, 9, 12 months. I don't know how long it's been since we've been at least looking at this or discussing. Director Schmitz, do you want to provide another update on kind of where we stand?
Yes, I would like to defer this to Assistant Director Corman, who has been delegated to
Okay.
be a part of the negotiation team for city administration on this potential lease.
The reason for the timeline on this particular action item is we need to get the commission's approval to go ahead and sign the lease agreement. There are, the terms of the agreement and like the significant terms, like the payments, the payment terms, and who gets what and what areas are being leased. That's all kind of been, that's all done and finalized basically in this contract. The only thing that could possibly change are a few I's that need to be dotted and T's that need to be crossed. But the agreement that you see in front of you is pretty much the agreement that would be signed by the city manager. The junior franchise needs to get approval in February so that they can ask to the league. They can go to their league and ask for permission to move their team, and this all needs to be taking place here in the next few weeks, so that final preparations can be made to move the team. If you take a look at the issue sheet in front of you, the contract negotiations have been taking place, or the discussions have been taking place over the last few years. The commission unanimously voted to recommend that a lease be drafted. That was done in March of 2015. The agreement would begin on September 1st and run through March 14th, 2017, and the agreement would be good for 3 consecutive years. Some key items from the agreement include that the junior hockey understands that their practice and game schedules in March may vary. They may be limited, or they may not have ice available at all due to the existing dry floor schedule and the contracts that we have in place with those particular groups or individuals. They are requesting exclusive use of 2 dedicated team rooms. However, the city does reserve the right to allow other users to be in there when deemed necessary. The city in exchange would give them notice for entering those rooms, and the junior hockey franchise will pay a lease fee for the space. They have agreed to our ice time rates, which the commission approved in the fee schedule. They will rent a minimum of 120 hours of practice ice time during 9 non-prime times, which is Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's typically when there's very little use during the day. The team will also host up to 22 home hockey games, mostly of which are on Friday or Saturday evenings. We feel that we can work with this. The team will have use of a small office space in the Civic Center. The team may negotiate concession facility use with the New Ulm Sleepy Eye Hockey Association or other entities that have agreements to operate that concession facility. They plan to operate or contract out alcohol concession during their games. The team will take over the existing advertised program within the South Arena, and they also plan to expand that program to include the Zamboni, glass wraps, and dasher boards. They'll also have an in-ice logo along with the rest of the users of the facility. And they may terminate the lease upon certain conditions, which include the league ceasing to exist, or they do not have a large enough fan base to support their activities, or if they are unable to obtain all the licenses necessary in order to sell alcoholic beverages. That is one of their conditions. Also, on the next page, it gives you the budgetary issues, what the forecasted increase of revenue would be for each. I just highlighted the key terms of, the ice for practice, the ice for home games, the approximate advertising, the advertising revenue, that's a fixed cost, and the leased team rooms, the fee.
Question on the budgetary section there, and open it up to others, but just given you reviewed this. So if I understand this right, the 13,200 would be new revenue
Yes.
for the practice time.
Yes.
The home games would be new revenue.
Yes.
The advertising is the way it was in the on bullet 13. I guess I assume the advertising revenue was going to be going to the team. Is it going to the city?
They're taking over the advertising, but they have to pay us a flat fee of $7,000 for.
And then they
the
get
advertising.
anything in excess of the of revenue beyond that?
Yes.
Got it. Thank you. So I'm doing rough math here, approximate, adding in my head here, 34,000, something like that, in revenue that we don't receive today, new revenue
Yes.
for the facility. Okay.
Well, I
And it-
would
and it-
add a little information about the advertising, because that would kind of supplant where we're at now. We have some revenue now with advertising.
Right. We take in roughly 6,000 to 7,000 a year right now.
Okay. Okay. So
It varies from year to year. This last year, we lost probably 3 advertisers.
So number 1, 2, and 4 would be new.
Right.
Correct.
Maybe number 3 is
Right. Number 3
somewhere
is
close to
something.
break even for us.
Yeah.
We're not losing it,
Right.
but we're maybe not gaining it.
Right.
Can you comment at all on, I know there was at least a note sent from the school district on the arrangement, and just wanting to make sure, that there wouldn't be any conflict with high school league activities in there at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We get the school schedules, or the school schedules are, the AD right now is finalizing the contract, or is finalizing the schedule for next year.
Okay.
So I anticipate seeing that by the end of February, for sure by the end of March. The junior hockey franchise starts, putting the schedules together and planning those games in April already. So they don't want to compete with the high school because they're the same fan base. So they would take a look at the schedule and if there's a home hockey game, they would then plan an away hockey game or pick a different weekend. The high school right now does not have a lot of home games on weekends, and if they do, they're around the 2 o'clock time frame. The exception to that are playoff games, and they typically have a rough idea of when those playoff games are, although the high school league can change those. They dictate when those are, and they just have to have them on those days. So, I would work with the hockey franchise to avoid those potential conflicts because, it's better for both groups if they're just not going on at the same time.
Do we have the Civic Center staffed at that time? I mean, we don't have to add staff. I mean, there's somebody there anyway, right?
During the practices, there's staff there during the day.
There is staff during the day.
There's maintenance there during the day because typically that's when all of the maintenance and custodial activity takes place because there's not as much traffic in the building during the day. So it's already staffed during the day for custodial services, and at night it's staffed as well because that's when all the traffic comes through. That's when all the practices and games are held. My hope and anticipation is to, get all the high school stuff scheduled, get all the junior hockey stuff scheduled, and then work with the association to schedule tournaments either when there isn't a home game, or schedule those tournament games earlier in the day. And usually those games are finished or concluded by 6 p.m. at night anyway. The junior hockey games typically take place anywhere from 7, 7:15, 7:30 to 8 o'clock starting times. Somewhere within that hour usually is when their games are scheduled. So the events shouldn't conflict for the most part.
I would like to ask a question about item number 11 and see if I understand it correctly. Where the team may negotiate concession facility use with the hockey association or other entities that operate the concession facility. I take it from that then there would be no enhanced revenue to the city, but that the hockey association would benefit from this because they would be getting some revenues from junior hockey. Is that a correct way to interpret that?
Well, what this statement means is that we have a contract with the association right now that they pretty much have exclusive rights. I mean, there's a stipulation in the concessions agreement that says exclusive and non-exclusive. Yeah, because there are a few exceptions. In the summertime or during their off-season, you have big groups like, say, the home show that comes in and they want to do their own concessions. If they want to do that, since they're renting both arenas, they're allowed to do so, and the Hockey Association is not required then to sell concessions above and beyond that. Otherwise, they are pretty much the exclusive provider of concessions in that building. Now, there's also stipulation in that contract about there's certain weekends that the figure skating may subcontract that space. They can work with the association, come to an agreement. The association could charge them rental fee because they have all of the equipment that's necessary to run the concessions, like the coolers, the freezers, all the machines and the equipment. And all of those both of those groups are required to pay 5% of their gross sales to the city in concessions. So what this is saying is that if they want to sell concessions, that they can negotiate with the Hockey Association to sell during their games.
As an
Just
overall,
basically opens the door for talk.
as an overall viewpoint from the Hockey Association, would it be correct to say that they are quite supportive of
Yes.
junior hockey coming to New Ulm?
Yes. I think I have that in there as an item.
My question is, does it affect the figure skating club much with anything? I don't know how the rink, like if one uses one rink primarily and the other, I don't know.
No, I schedule wherever there's ice available. They could be scheduled on either rink. Sometimes, in certain conditions, the figure skating requests one rink over the other, like obviously during their show practice, they like to do that on the South Arena just because the rink is bigger. The junior hockey prefers the South Arena because they're required to have like 500 seat minimum capacity for spectators. Some of the association tournaments want to have most of their games or all of their games on the regulation because they're little, they're young, and it's 15 feet less ice they have to skate on. So I just work with the groups and try to put them in where it makes the most sense, and we try to accommodate their requests, and for the most part, they usually get what they request.
Any other questions, discussion?
As far as advertising goes, you will get the $7,000 a year advertising, right?
Yes.
So all your hockey associations and all that, if they would have to go probably to the same places to get this advertising if they're gonna get some for themselves, right?
What advertising did the Hockey Association do?
Well, I'm sure that they make they make little pamphlets, for some of their hockey tournaments and stuff like that. They're gonna have to get advertising from, that doesn't stop to junior hockey from taking all those businesses to their advertising for this, right?
Well, I mean, the junior hockey team can ask whoever they want for sponsorships, just like the Hockey Association. I'm not sure what would be different, other than maybe adding, the big dasher boards or the glass wraps, but I don't know what would be different. I mean, they'll be obviously more aggressive with, trying to recruit new advertisers for the wall signs and the boards, I'm sure. As far as their programs go, I would imagine they would probably ask people to advertise in those as well.
So I think your point is there's gonna be more
There's gonna be-
advertising requests
There you
in
go.
the community, correct? I mean,
Exactly.
so,
Exactly, so pretty soon, how do you say this in a nice way? The bigger ones are gonna get the bigger piece of the pie, and the smaller ones are probably gonna get nothing. It's the way it is, though, I guess.
good questions, good discussion. Any more on the junior hockey franchise? Okay. City manager, yes.
Brian Grumman, City Manager. I feel like I live here at City Hall, so I won't give you an address. Okay, 100 North Broadway. I meant to get down here probably a little bit earlier and just, kind of watch this thing through, since both Cheryl and I were, probably the primary people in the trenches slugging that out. But I happened to be upstairs writing an email back to Mr. Black, and I didn't get down here early enough to kind of talk about the alcohol aspect of it. The lease as it's currently written, and maybe you've had this discussion already, and I apologize for that, but the lease as it's currently written allows for alcohol sales to be, first off, licensed by the city council, and then secondly, to be found within the arena to which they are playing in. So if they're playing in the south arena, they go into south. They play in the north, they would have to be in the north. Now, just received an email from Mr. Steve Black that basically was questioning whether or not
they could take a portion of the commons and rope that off and have alcohol sales out in the commons area. And I believe the reason that we restricted it to the arena was just in case there was amateur athletics going on in the other part of the building, that you can't have alcohol sales and all that together, alcohol flowing back and forth. So we did try and restrict it to the arena. Now, that just popped up. They're asking this particular question of me, and I'm sitting back saying, before we get to the point of saying, yeah, this is a great deal, that just creates one more question, I guess, in my mind that needs to be resolved before we can get to that point. So I apologize for coming in late, so I don't know if you had addressed this already or not, but I wanted to, I guess, get on notice that as of about an hour ago, the email that came across my desk basically said, well, yeah, but what about? What about if we go over here in the public area? And we've been quite clear in the lease. And so at this point in time, I don't have anything in particular, that I can, because I'm not back in my office, you might have responded already and say, yeah, never mind. Never mind the public area. But on the other hand, if they come back and say, well, given the number of seats that we think we can fill, which they filled about 400 paid customers and about 50 free customers at their hockey event on Saturday night. There's a capacity limit to the South Arena, and they want to do some other things that could eat up some space within the arena in the seating area. So they're getting a little concerned that they may not have as much seating as they would like to have if they include alcohol sales within the arena. So they're looking to say, can we get that moved out of the arena? And I guess I'm sitting here saying, that's a decision, I think, ultimately for the city council, but at this point in time, the current lease as proposed said only within the arena to which you are playing, and then that stops alcohol from floating around the public areas and going from the north arena to the south arena. It has to stay in one area. So that's an issue, I think. I just want to let you know that it's still unsettled. Maybe Ms. Corman can has better knowledge that there won't be other amateur athletics going on in the other arena, so this really is no big deal. But I think it was set up with the understanding that it's going to be in one enclosed area. People go in and they can't come out. They can't just walk around, and therefore go into other areas. So I don't know if, Cheryl, if you have any comments on that, but I guess given the fact that they sent that to me probably less than an hour ago, I guess I need to at least know that you guys are aware that not everything is quite settled yet.
Right, and what I started off by saying to the commission is that the basic terms, such as the fees, the spaces, how much ice they're gonna rent, what they're gonna pay for it, all of that has been pretty much finalized in the lease. There are a few items in particular, details of the contract that need to be worked out. And so what I had asked the commission to do is to make a motion to consider the lease agreement with the understanding that there may be some fine details that need to be addressed or approved by you before it's actually signed.
All right.
So the general terms of this agreement is what we're asking for the motion for, but if there's specific, I guess I didn't, the alcohol thing, that came through this afternoon, and I opened up the rec center this morning, so I left at noon, and I came back, so I wasn't part of that conversation.
Well, I think things like how high a volume you can turn up on the PA system, when you're
Right.
doing pregame, those are minor things. The alcohol is kind of a major
Right.
thing. So
That is,
I
yes.
just throw it out there because it's important enough. There's certain things that are going to make or break this, whether this will even happen or not. This would be probably one of those. That if it doesn't work, but you know, if you go ahead and approve the basic concept, you know, we'll continue to work, you know, with the blacks on that particular issue. And of course, the city council then weighs in on that also, because they're the entity that actually provides the liquor license for the activity. And they can restrict it to wherever they want to restrict it. So
Okay.
just making you aware of it.
That's helpful.
because
Yeah, appreciate the update and kind of the context of where the agreement stands or proposed agreement stands today. And I think you make a good point. We could probably voice our input around the alcohol arrangement, but through the city licensing, ultimately the city council will put some parameters around what it will be and won't be for the franchise.
And in answer to your question, I can't guarantee that. There's not gonna be anything going on because a tournament could run late and run into that time frame. I mean, their games, if they start at, say, 7, they're probably gonna wanna start selling and or serving by 6:30. Can I guarantee absolutely positively that the tournament's gonna be concluded by that time? Nope, can't. I mean, I can't guarantee that because there's a lot of control factors in a game. I mean, sometimes they go over, sometimes everything gets pushed back. So I can't guarantee that. We work to try to avoid those conflicts, but I can't make a guarantee.
I like I guess from the city perspective, it's a workable, you know, agreement. It's a workable lease as it sits. There's just a few items that we need to still hammer out, and to that extent, you know, we'll continue to do that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Appreciate the work, yeah, done by city leadership management on this arrangement. As you can see in the notes, we started the conversation at the Park and Rec Commission nearly 12 months ago. And I think for the most part, strong support from the community and the Hockey Association to make this happen. And it sounds like the overall parameters, et cetera, the revenue, the terms, we've been able to come to agreement. I agree to the sensitivity of the alcohol issue, I guess, and just would look for the city council to address that appropriately to make sure we protect the other users of the Civic Center and other constituents up there, and kind of leave it to them to use their judgment to do that. But I guess we're looking for action here on the kind of base lease agreement that we had included in the addendum. Anyone willing to support that and make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we support the concept of a junior hockey franchise with the contract or the lease agreement that's been established, and leave the city council to work out any further details that are not addressed today.
And you wanna add the city manager to that?
I always,
City council and the,
Sure.
yeah. Okay.
that's fine, thank you.
Second. Okay, so let me restate this. We have a motion and a second to approve the lease agreement for a junior hockey team franchise has been presented, along with the agreement that the city manager and city council may have to fine tune a few items. Is that fair enough for the motion and second, as I've heard? Any more discussion on this item? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last couple items on our agenda today. Reports, Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Freier and Commissioners. I really have nothing to add that's not been listed here on the agenda as far as projects that have been completed, projects in the process, and with purchase orders issued already, and then a group that we continue to work on in the planning stages. We're certainly putting a lot of time into our RENU proposals, but we also have to conduct daily, weekly, and monthly business of the department. So we're trying to keep all the balls in the air and get prepared for a busy summer season of construction, and wrap up what we can in the winter here with projects. So unless there's a specific question, I have nothing else to add as far as projects go.
Any questions for Director Schmitz or Assistant Director Corman? Okay, hearing none, on to Commissioner reports. Any questions or business from the commissioners? One item that I would have, you'll see it says work session scheduling. Unless I hear otherwise, I would request that we work on scheduling one more work session before the March deadline for the RENU proposals, for the purpose of reviewing kind of the full proposal or helping in whatever way department management's interested in having us help. So kind of look to Director Schmitz if you would like to do a draft of the full proposal, schedule a work session, have the commissioners be able to review and provide any feedback. I guess that would maybe be one option. If you have other recommendations, I just think before March 26, whatever that deadline was, if you would like to pull this group together for any support or assistance.
Yes, I would like that, and please allow us a few weeks yet to kind of put together our draft of the final proposals, and then once we feel those are close to being completed by staff, then we'll call a meeting and review those prior to the deadline.
Okay.
So it
Sounds agreeable to everybody. We'll schedule something in March then.
Yeah, early to mid-March.
Okay. Our next meeting, March 14th, 4 p.m. here. And like we just mentioned, we'll have another work session about that time. If there's no other business, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.